I'm a young, hardworking mom with 2 fur babies and a 2.5-year-old daughter. I'm Tanya, and I'm a miraculous mama.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Miraculous Mamas podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Joy, and we believe in empowering women through storytelling and education. And I am so excited that you're here with me today. Just an FYI, I have Jovi here with me. So if you hear a little noise in the background, that's mom life. She's currently trying to chew on the podcasting cord. She is at that phase where she puts everything in her mouth, and changing her diaper is those pictures that you see online of a mom wrestling an alligator. I lay her down to change her diaper and she's just rolling all over the place, trying to put everything in her mouth, and, keeps everything fresh and exciting and definitely keeps you on your toes. Today we have a super interesting podcast. So we're interviewing Brianne Davis, and she has such a unique story, something that we've never really talked about on here. She's an actress, and she talks about she just shares her story with us and how she battled with being a love and a sex addict to being this incredibly inspirational voice for all addictions, and just how her path of getting help empowered her and just changed her life as a wife and a mother, and everything that she's been through. Her story is super inspiring, and I had such an amazing time connecting with her and listening to her share and just be so open with us. I know you guys are going to love it. Before we dive into the interview, if you are listening, make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast, that you leave us a rating, and to share it with somebody who you know could get some value out of this podcast. And I just want to thank you guys so much for listening and continuing to support me on this platform. If there's any guests that you guys want to hear, any topics, do not hesitate to reach out to me. Every person that you guys send me, I always look into. I try to reach out to. It doesn't mean that people always get back to me, which can be hard sometimes, but I definitely want to give you guys the information that you want and to bring on the guests that you want to hear from. So reach out to me. I hope you guys are enjoying Women's History Month, and I will be posting some stuff on that on the Miraculous Mamas Instagram, so make sure to check me out there. All right, we're going to go ahead and dive into this interview. All right, everyone, I have Brianne Davis here, and I am super excited to be talking with her. You guys may know her from TV or in different movies. She's been in so many different roles. She also just wrote a book, which came out this month. So that is super, super exciting in her life, and I cannot wait to read it. And thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Honestly, thank you.
Yeah, of course. I would love for you to tell us just all about who you are and what brought you to writing this book.
Oh my God, that is such a journey. So I am an actor. I've been an actor for 20 years. I've been on the show Six on History and A&E for 2 years. And then I've been on Lucifer recently and done a ton of movies, like you said, Jarhead, Prom Night, Synchronicity, blah, blah, blah. Like literally I've been on every show almost that's on TV, but I'm one of those actors that you see, but you're like, wait, do I know you? Mm-hmm. Which is actually lovely because there was this, my 20 years and dealing with my addiction, which is about the book, is I'm addicted to sex and love. And I've been in recovery for 11 years in Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. And being a working actor and in the spotlight and also having this addiction that not many people talk about, especially women, it's all about men and being sex addicts and getting caught and all that. And I have to tell you, as more and more women are having this problem, it's a fear of intimacy. It's a fear of being abandoned. It's a fear of being loved. So yeah, it really, at my 10 years of recovery, I had this overwhelming feeling of being of service, bigger just than my community of addicts and recovering addicts. And my husband, who I am with, he kept bothering me to write this book. And I was like, dude, I'm dyslexic. I have ADHD. I am not interested in writing a book. Like, what are you talking about? I'm an actor. I want someone to give me the dialogue. I don't want to be writing the dialogue. And he just kept mentioning it for like weeks, like 6 times. And I was like, fine, leave me alone. I'll take this writing course. And something like a God or something directed him, because the book came out of me in 45 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like the first draft. I mean, I rewrote it a bunch of times, but it came out and it was first a memoir about my life and my journey in Hollywood and my addiction. But I kept rewriting it with my editor, and more was being revealed. And I was having dreams of this character, situations she was put in that I've heard other people be put in. And it just became this other thing. And now it's aroma clef fiction. It's like a self-help chick lit memoir book. It's like this hybrid. And yeah, I put it out this month. It hit bestseller right away, which is crazy. Yeah. Because I never wanted to write a book ever. So that's my journey right now. And right now I'm just trying to carry the message of strength and hope, especially for women, especially for women in recovery and women that are having trouble in relationships. And I just am here to be of service. And this is like bigger than me, obviously.
Mm-hmm. That's so amazing. I can't believe you sat down and pounded it out in 45 days.
Yeah, it was insane. And like I said, I'm not a writer. I wasn't interested. And it just came out of me. And I was like, oh, I guess this is my path now, not just to be an actor, to actually contribute to the world and help other people.
Mm-hmm. I feel like, so the name of your book is Secret Life of a Hollywood Sex and Love Addict. And
yes, I didn't say that.
Well, I feel like kind of like a sex and love addiction can be maybe taboo to talk about, or something that a lot of people might think that women don't deal with. But I feel like it's a lot more common than what you would think is out there. So what has been this response since you've opened up this area of your life?
It has been honestly overwhelming. I am so humbled by this experience. Every day, and I'm not kidding, I get at least a dozen messages. At least people reaching out saying, I have this problem. This book really helped me. This book really helped me look at my own isms. It's like, I feel like everyone has a sort of ism where they like go to not feel their feelings. They go on the internet, Instagram, they eat a piece of cake. We all have these things where we don't want to feel our feelings as humans.
Yeah.
Well, I have all these people reaching out, like women, men. I've had so many men reach out to me and say, my girlfriend does those things. My ex-wife did those things. Now I understand. And it's really helping a wide range of people. And here's the most beautiful thing. I gave it to people in my program, which, we don't really talk about our program unless someone needs help. And I gave it to old timers. So I have 11 years. So I gave it to people with 20 years, 25 years. And they all were like, this is like scraping the next level. And that I started breaking out in tears, because I was like, if they are saying that it's helping them after being in the program for 20 years, look at their intimacy, look at the things they haven't looked at yet, then I guess I'm doing my job as sharing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. We are going to take a quick break. So I can tell you about one way that I like to de-stress a little bit. Life can have its little annoyances. Like for me this week, it's been cleaning baby poop out of a bathtub a few times, cleaning it off of the blanket and off of my clothes. I don't understand how this happens. When you have kids, it just gets everywhere. And a lot of spit up. So, one way that I like to just unwind and blow off some steam is playing the game Best Fiends. It is the top-rated mobile puzzle adventure game. I like it because I am competitive. So whenever I pass somebody in a level that I know, because you can connect with friends there, it just fuels me to keep going, because I love a little friendly competition. And, right now I'm not seeing a lot of people. So it's nice to have Best Fiends to compete against some of my friends. And it's also nice to just have a way to unwind. You also can compete with yourself. Well, for me, because I'm competitive, gaining more characters, advancing more levels. I am in the thousands right now. And you know what? I thought maybe they would run out of levels, but they have not. So it's just fun to be able to to de-stress that way. And they're always changing things up on there. There's always, like I said, new levels right now. They just keep adding more. And they have different themes. So every single month there's new themes. There's different challenges for you to participate in if you want to. And it's just a great way to blow off some steam and, just kind of engage your mind in some puzzle. I know dealing with kids all day, sometimes you just want something a little bit different. So don't blame us if you end up being kind of obsessed with it. Download Best Fiends free today on the Apple App Store or Google Play. That's Friends without the R, Best Fiends. Now back to the episode. Like you said, a lot of people kind of have a place that they go to not feel. And I realized that I had gone through that in my life because I struggled with an eating disorder for a really long time. And once I got out of that, I kind of moved into relationships, and I kind of used that as a way to not feel, like kind of having this sort of control of the situation and, but not being attached to it and being like, I'm just somebody who doesn't get emotionally attached, and
I'm the cool girl.
Yeah.
I like to call those people like the cool girl.
Right.
And there's a character in the book called Cool Girl. And that's exactly what I talk about.
Well,
that's
I was
so
a
funny.
cool girl for a while. But then I also realized that was a way of just kind of numbing and not dealing with my own issues and things that I had. And I feel like everybody kind of does that in some way or form in their life. So I'm sure on some level, everyone can kind of relate to your story.
Well, that's what I'm finding. I mean, even people in long-term relationships are choosing unavailable men is a huge one. Women going back to these men thinking they're going to change. And it's all about power and control. For me, with this addiction, it was about I want power and control over the guy I'm with or my guy friends or even my girlfriends. I realized that I used them to make me feel better. And I just had this moment in my life where it's like, I cannot keep using people to make me feel special, to make me feel important. I was like almost an approval addict. I wanted you to love me because I didn't love myself enough. And I was always looking for that partner, that perfect soulmate, that white knight, someone to come rescue me, to fix me or something. And I just was like, I can't do this anymore. It can't be about somebody else not being good enough for me or not giving me what I need or not keeping those butterflies, right? We're all addicted to that falling in love. I want to feel those butterflies, that rush, that passion. But the problem is if you are in a long-term relationship longer than a year, those go away. It's just inevitable. It happens. And I was addicted to falling in love and having power and control. And that's not sustainable. So I just had this thought in a dark hotel room on location, shooting a movie. Am I going to be doing this the rest of my life? Am I going to be on my deathbed and never be truly connected to another soul and always using somebody? I just couldn't do it anymore. I hit my wall. So that was my like dark night of the soul, they call it.
Yeah. Well, what's hard though is with a lot of addictions, let's say that you have an alcohol addiction. You can stay away from bars. You cannot put yourself in situations where you're going to be tempted to drink. If you're addicted to love, you can't really live without community and people. Like you still want to have friends. You still want to be around people. So how did you, I guess, start your road to recovery? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the very uncomfortable part. It's this withdrawal that happens when you enter the program. So you need people to survive, just like you need food. I also was anorexic when I was younger. So I totally understand that addiction where it's just you want power and control over yourself. And that's the only way you can do it is like allowing and not allowing food to enter your body. So I get that. It's the same thing, but with food, with money, with people, we need those things in our life to survive. You can't survive without them. Not like drugs and alcohol where it's black or white, take it away and you're done. So what the program helped me do and my therapy, which, I don't say the program helps everybody. It just helped me and doing intense therapy for 8 years really helped me. you take away, I got rid of all my guy friends. I didn't talk, text, or email any men whatsoever. And what that looked like was I'd go to a restaurant, and if the waiter was a male, I would not make eye contact because I realized I was giving off that flirtatious energy, even when I wasn't meaning to. It was like I used to say, this is my personality. I was flirtatious. And it's like, no, you're like raping that other person for their energy so they can make you feel important. So I didn't, make eye contact with men. I wasn't allowed to be outside of my committed relationship in any way, shape, or form. And what happened is this withdrawal happens, and it's really painful. It's honestly the most painful. I've cried every day for 9 months, and I'm talking like tearing at the carpet, can't breathe, mouth, throat closing up, bawling almost every day. And this guy, when I was going through withdrawal, came in at like my 6-month mark, and he said, I can quit heroin, but I can't quit her. And that was just such a moment for me to allow myself to feel this pain, that it is almost as, or, the same as getting rid of heroin, because the endorphins in our body are released by flirting and intrigue and being outside of a committed relationship and DMing people and all that's crap that people do. So going through that withdrawal and then setting up boundaries for myself, setting up boundaries with friends, setting up boundaries with my family. I didn't talk to my dad for a year because he wouldn't respect my boundaries. So it was like taking everybody away and then bringing back them in a healthy way where I knew how to hold my boundaries, respect other people's boundaries, not use people. And I have to say, a lot of friends like floated away. A lot of people that I realized didn't show up for me, and I didn't show up for them too. It wasn't an equal relationship. Those relationships went away. And now everybody in my life shows up for me, and I show up for them. So it's like this process you have to go through where you strip away everything and then you bring it back in a healthier way.
Yeah, that just sounds like so much work.
Oh my God, girl, I'm telling you, I have never worked harder on myself than I have the last 11 years. It is the most painful, agonizing, excruciating work I have ever done, or my sponsees, or, my friends in the program. I mean, we all have been through the trenches of self-loathing to, like, I talk about in the book, becoming that butterfly. You feel like you're that caterpillar trying to like escape into like this butterfly, and you don't know what the butterfly is going to look like or how the butterfly is going to act. It's like jumping off a bridge and not knowing if you're going to hit the water.
Well, everything that you described, I mean, it is a lot of work. I mean, everybody's journey looks different to recovery in any form. And I think that that's kind of what keeps a lot of people away, because once you start into it, you have those painful times, and it's so easy just to go back, just to numb. And like you said, you've been on this 11-year journey. People listening are probably like, what? Like, like 11, like I want to get over this in a couple of weeks. Like,
oh yeah. Are you kidding? I just had a newcomer be like, I just want to be okay. And I was like, dude, if there was an easier way, I would have done it already. There is not an easier way. You have to walk through the fire and let it all burn. And that's one of my chapters in the book. You have to go through the pain for it to finally leave your body.
All right. We're going to take a quick break from our episode talking all about marriage after a baby and having a baby. And I want to talk to you quick about mental health, because having a kid can affect that. Marriage can affect that. There are so many factors that play into our mental health, and it is so important to take control. And that is why I love BetterHelp. They make it so easy for you to seek out professional counseling. You can send a message to your counselor anytime and communicate in a way that is convenient to you, whether that's texting, emailing, FaceTiming, however you feel comfortable communicating. They are committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if you ever need to, and it's affordable, way more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. Everything you share is always confidential, convenient, professional, affordable. And in fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. So whatever you are facing today and you just want some extra help working through it, use BetterHelp. As a listener, you get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/mamas, and you can join over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health, including myself. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/mamas. How has dealing with this, do you think that being in the Hollywood industry affected your addiction at all?
Well, I want to say, oh, hold on. There's a truck. Do you care if there's a truck? Can you hear it?
I can hear it, but it's all right.
Oh, you don't care. Okay. I want to say that Hollywood for me definitely played a role because I was always wearing a mask as a human.
Yeah.
That it just allowed me to put on different masks for my job. So I would go on set and become a different person. And I love that about my job. But in Hollywood, there are sex and love addicts everywhere. I mean, we are like the industry of sex and love addicts, it feels like. I could go on set and go, you're a sex and love addict, you're a sex and love addict. And I had this one, I was shooting this show out of town, a cop show. I'm not going to say which one. And every single actor and director and producer, we were all in a hotel room and they were all talking. And I was like, you are sleeping with the wardrobe girl behind your wife's back. I literally went around the room and there was only one person out of the 9 that was in a healthy relationship and not cheating on their significant other. So it's a city of sex and love addicts. It's a city of people that want to have approval, have limelight, are selfish and self-seeking. As actors, you have to be for this job a little bit. But my problem started when I was 6 years old. You know, I was molested at a young age. I didn't even remember that until therapy. I blacked it out. So I was already, you know, when you get molested, usually your growth stops, they say. You have to that's where, you know, a lot of your development stops because you're taken advantage of. And I saw movies that were inappropriate. One of my favorite movies growing up was Romeo and Juliet. I shouldn't be watching that at 6 years old. I remember seeing Michael White's butt and being like, oh my God, that's the perfect butt I have ever seen. And then I remember, at 6 years old, I had that thing. And then I was like always boy crazy too. And I remember seeing at the end that they loved each other so much after 2 days. I think that is like a 2-day. They loved each other so much that they were willing to stab themselves and drink poison. So I thought love looked like a really nice butt and someone had to be willing to die. Someone had to want to stab themselves, drink poison for it to actually mean real love. Mm-hmm. So Hollywood definitely distorted my belief of what love looked like. They never talk about paying the bills, picking up dog poop, what real intimacy looks like. Nobody does a movie about that, you know, rarely.
I know. So, my husband and we were watching, I think it was last year, the show on Netflix, You. And, and I just kept thinking every single time, they'd have sex in this movie, I'm like, is she on birth control? Is he putting on a condom? How come none of this is shown? They just had sex on a boat. Was he wearing protection? Did he just finish inside of her? None of this is real.
None of this is I know. And here's the thing. In the book I write, I talk about a lot of the scenes in the movies I shot. I talk about Hollywood. I talk about, you know, as addicts, you don't even think about putting on a condom or having protection. You're almost gambling with your life and other people's life. So I definitely go into details about those thoughts and those behaviors too, and what Hollywood doesn't talk about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, definitely unrealistic. So you were talking about kind of how, you know, you had this idea of what love was as a little kid, and now you have a little kid. How old is your son?
Mm-hmm. He's almost 3 years old. He's turning 3 years old in April. Yeah.
How fun. So how has everything that you've gone through played into motherhood for you?
Oh my God. I can't imagine the mother I would have been 11 years ago. First of all, I would have been the worst mother ever because I was such a selfish individual. And I didn't want to be a mom. Like I said, I didn't want to write a book. I didn't want to be a mom. I didn't want to be married. I wasn't interested in those, conventional ways to live. I just wanted to be that girl that was like, doing what she wants to do. And I realized, when my sister had her son, my nephew, I had this overwhelming feeling of love that I've never had, this unconditional, like eternal love. And when my husband and I decided to get married, who I have been with for 16 years, like we've been together before I got sober. So it's not like I got sober in Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous and found the most perfect partner. That doesn't exist. We got married. And when I was shooting the show 6 in Wilmington, we got pregnant. And we tried and we got pregnant and we lost the baby. We lost the baby while I was working on the set. Like I had started miscarriaging on set, and it was the most traumatic experience. And I just realized like, oh, I do really want to be a mom. I do really want to step into this role as a woman. So after I dealt with all of that, we got pregnant again and I had my son. And I have to say, he has made me a better person every day. He teaches me patience. But here's the most beautiful thing. My husband and I don't carry on our addictive behavior to him. Like we really made a conscious effort to, over communicate, to tell him, I'm upset right now. Mom is upset right now, and not allow my son to come make sure mama's okay. Little kids, when you're crying, they want to like hold you. And we try not to emotionally enmesh with him and have him fix us or us fix his feelings. When he's crying, we're like, what's the matter? What's going on? Oh, you're just upset. You just want to cry. Okay, you can go cry. Tell me when you're done or if you need a hug. So it's like this beautiful balance of being my own person, taking care of myself as a woman, saying I need this, but also being a mother and taking care of him, but not in an incestuous way, which happened a lot with my family.
Yeah. And I'm sure you're not going to let him watch Romeo and Juliet when he's 6 years old.
No, I would never. I mean, it was like the 80s and my parents thought it was cool and like bohemian. And now I think like that is way too advanced. Even just things they create now and cartoons are like fighting each other or hitting each other. I'm like, kids don't need to be seeing that. And I even see him see something and then he wants to get rough. And I'm like, so I'm really trying to protect his innocence and let him develop at his own rate and not how I think he should develop, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, dealing with I had a guest on last year who talked about family trauma and how you can pass that on, but it's so amazing that you and your husband dealt with yours and, aren't passing that on to your son. Because I think a lot of people don't even know the traits and the things that they are continuing in. And so it's amazing that you guys recognized your patterns and that you were able to deal with them.
Well, kids trigger us, right?
Oh, for sure.
Even right. I mean, just with the littlest things, they can give you a look or not, want dad instead of mom. And it like hits you in this like abandonment thing where you're like, my kid doesn't love me. Like my own kid doesn't love me. They just switch who their favorite parent is. And I can imagine if I was before recovery being like, well, then I'm not going to give you love because you don't, like just that like part of me that when I'm getting abandoned, I shut down. And my mom used to do that. And, she apologized for it, which was beautiful. And we had this beautiful moment where she said, I'm sorry, I didn't know how to be a mother because I didn't have a good mother. And after that, it was like, I don't want to do that to my son. And my husband is also 32 years sober in his recovery in AA. And we just make a conscious effort just not to traumatize our son. I'm sure we're going to because we're human and we're flawed, but at least I realize if he does those things that it just triggers an old wound in me that as a child, I didn't get the things I needed always, Yeah, but kids can trigger you no matter how sober you are. They are sure. Right? Isn't being a mother like the hardest job in the world? Like 10 times harder than being an actor in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it definitely is hard. I feel like just even I get triggered when I don't have enough sleep, which is something that you don't get a lot as a new mom. She's sleeping better now, but last night she had a rough night, and literally I got her down, and an hour later she woke up, and I'm falling asleep, and I'm just like, ugh, like you get angry for a second. It's like, why aren't you sleeping? And then it's like, oh, you're a 5-month-old baby. Like you're starting to teeth. Like either you're hungry, you just want comfort. You just have to realize has nothing to do with you. Like her waking up has nothing to do with me, and my job is to comfort and love her. So, but there definitely are triggering moments. I feel like your kids are your mirrors, right? They just walk around being like, this is what you need to work on in your life.
Yeah. My son literally last night, he was walking around the house and he goes, the house is dirty. House is dirty. And I was like, the house isn't that dirty. Like, I just wanted to be like, well, then you clean it, right, you 2.5-year-old.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So what was it like, I guess, going through recovery? And you said that I don't remember how long you said you've been with your husband, but kind of having a partner through all of this.
Oh, I wouldn't wish it on anyone.
Sounds rough.
Yeah. It is rough. We've been together for 16 years, and at our 4-year mark or 5-year mark is when, it hit the wall where I had some work ahead. Yeah. So it was really hard in a relationship to work on myself and go through that pain. I mean, when I went to my therapist, she said, you're a sex and love addict. And I was like, what are you talking about? I don't have one-night stands. I haven't had a ton of sexual partners. And I talk about this in the book. I go into detail. But she said, you use people, you overlap relationships. You're always looking for this person to fix you. So I got out of the therapy session. I got in my car. I drove down the 101 highway in traffic, bawling my eyes out. I called my husband, who was my boyfriend. We were living together at the time. And I said, she said, I'm a sex and love addict, like hysterically crying. And when I got home, he printed up all the meetings. He highlighted the ones I could go to. And I went to a meeting that night, and it was 40 people completely different from me, from like 70, an A-list celebrity to a janitor, every walk of life you could imagine. And hearing people talk, I was like, wow, I'm not alone. I am not broken. There is not something missing in me. I just have a lot of work to do. And the first year of recovery, he wasn't allowed to fix me. If I was crying, he had to stay. We were in a small apartment, and he had to stay like in the living room and hear me bawling. And it was really hard. And we were both willing to let go of the relationship if I had to get better, which I think was an amazing thing. We weren't trying to hold on to each other. Like, he knew I had self-work to do, and he was also doing his work on himself. And I think it helped him being in a 12-step program to know that my addiction to people had nothing to do with him. Like, he could be the most perfect individual. And we talked about this a lot when we went to therapy a couple times, that like he could be the most perfect individual and it wouldn't matter. Nobody isn't ever enough for me. So I think just having that conversation, and then the hardest part that I do not wish on a single soul is the first year of my recovery, we didn't have sex. I could not have sex. I couldn't like masturbate. I couldn't have sex with anybody because I did not have myself. And every time I was physical, I disconnected from my body. So I had to go through all this grief by myself, go through learning like how to love my body in a loving way and not in a way for power and control, manipulation, even like going into fantasy, all those things we do when we become sexual as women. We sexualize ourselves a lot. Society teaches us to do that, to get what we want. So I had to unlearn all that while I was with somebody I cared about, wanted to be best friends with, and love as much as I could love. And the beautiful thing is we grew together. Like our relationship became stronger in an emotional sense, that then we could put the sexuality back in a healthy way. And they have this saying in the program where that sex is a byproduct of sharing, commitment, trust, and cooperation in a partnership. And that's what it became. It wasn't everything. Like sex used to be everything. It used to be the whole cake. And now it's just like the frosting on top of the cake. Wow. But it was tough. Yeah. And I tell people, my sponsees or people that come in the program, if you're not in a relationship, do not rush into a relationship, because working these steps, working on yourself with somebody is 10 times harder than doing it alone. But they also say if you come in the program in a relationship, as long as it's not abusive or, scary, then you stay in the relationship, because it's usually not about that, a relationship. It's about you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that just sounds like, though, that he loved you a lot.
Yeah, he did. He loved me a lot. I mean, because I don't even know if I could. Well, I did do that for him too. He had his journey to go through. And I think we knew we were both broken from our past. We both come from broken homes. So I think we had enough wherewithal that this wasn't forever, and that we couldn't complete each other. And I can honestly say in a very healthy way that if he left me today, I would be upset. I would be devastated. But he doesn't complete me. Like my husband doesn't complete me. My son doesn't complete me. Getting a job in Hollywood, getting a role doesn't complete me anymore. Nothing completes me. For the first time in my life, I complete me. Like the self-love I developed for myself is what fills me, not a good review on Amazon, not the book becoming a bestseller or topping 100, or it got number 1 in like 7 charts. Like it's crazy that none of that completes me or makes me feel like I'm special. Like I'm just here to be of service.
Yeah, that does take a lot of work to get to that point. I feel like anybody listening could be like, wait a second. Because especially as a mom, your role becomes mother, and your children kind of complete you. And I think that the danger with that is, like, I'm somebody who I love to be needed. I love it when I'm needed. I feel so like, oh, you need me. I have purpose. But I know that that's like, you kind of have to be careful, because your kids aren't always going to need you. They are going to become independent, and you want them to. You want them to become independent and grow up to contribute something to society. And even, with my husband, he, I feel like he needs me when he has like the man cold or the man flu, whatever it is, like. Oh
God, yeah. It's the worst. They're the worst. My husband's the worst too. It's like he's acting like he's dying. I'm like, dude, you just got a cold. It's like, come on.
Oh my gosh, my husband's been like COVID tested 4 times in like 10 days because he like sneezes and he's like, I have the COVID, babe. I'm like, babe, you haven't done anything. You do not have it.
You haven't gone anywhere.
Go get another test for peace of mind. It's fine. So he cracks me up. But it's also like, I know we've had that conversation before of like, if one of us died or something happened, like I'd want you to find someone, if you want to like whatever. And he's like, I would want you to meet someone and to be happy. And I'm like, what? I'm like, no, if you marry somebody else, I'm going to come back and haunt you. Like, I'm joking though, but like obviously I'd want him to be happy, but it is, I mean, there is something with motherhood where it's like, oh, this tiny human, it can be triggering, but also it feels so good that like, you're needed, but that also can play into so many not good behaviors or patterns as well. So I feel like what you're saying, like, those things don't fulfill you is kind of something that everybody listening could like take a second to look at and to reflect inward and be like, am I okay? Like if this thing, what fulfills me? Is it me? Do I have that self-love? Do I have, do I look at myself that way enough to where if my kid doesn't approve of me, like I'm okay?
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, you know, even as a mother, and we put all this energy and all this love and all this unconditional love, and, you know, we're like making their food, feeding them, getting them dressed, you know, providing all that. It's exhausting. It's like, it's a full-time job. So I get like, then, but they're going to leave. Like, he's going to leave when he's probably 6. Like, he's going to be like, yeah, see ya, mom. Like, see ya. Like, so I just know from my experience with my parents and how I was raised, I completed my dad a little bit, and so did my sister. And it became very toxic where we were supposed to stick around and be closer to him because he needed us. And it was like, that's not my job as a child to complete my parent. Like, that is not my job. I don't have enough to give my parent to make them feel special. Mm-hmm. I love my dad, but it's not my responsibility to be everything to him. It's just not. No person can be. So I think having that experience, I did not want to pass that down to my child. And I think with the work that I've done and looking at myself and my codependency too, and my wanting to be needed wasn't healthy, that I am here to raise this little individual to be the best human he can be, to be kind, to know he is here's the lovely thing too. He is not special. My son is not special or unique or anything. He is among other humans. I'm going to teach him that. And I'm going to teach him that he is not better than anybody else, because I feel like for me, parents these days are me, you know, how I was raised, that I was unique and special. And that can be a little dangerous. It can become entitled. And I want him to be of service to others, to take care of himself, to know he can contribute to this world, and that he can do anything he wants to do, but he has to work for it. It's not going to just be given to him. So that's been my battle, to do that and not pass on that codependent enmeshment hold that sometimes I've had in the past with my family.
Mm-hmm. Which I feel like is probably pretty common with mothers, I would think.
Well, I mean, yeah, because we give so much, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I give so much to my son. I want him to love me and be obsessed with me and be like, Mom, I love you. You know, like, because I give so much. I gave him life, but I also know that he is his own person. He's not mine anymore. Mm-hmm. I gave birth to him, and my husband and I are responsible for him, but he's not really mine. He's his own person. And I think sometimes as a mom, I want to say to him, but I gave birth to you. Like, you have to do what I say. And it's like, no, Mom, like, you're like, I don't know. I just hope that I hope that he makes it in the world and he knows he doesn't have to be attached to another human. Oh my God. And there was something amazing that happened the other night. He loves Mickey Mouse. And at the end, they have this hot dog dance. I'm sure any mom listening knows what I'm talking about, that hot dog dance. hot dog. So he loves that song. And every time at the end, sometimes, you know, Clarabelle's there, or the Chippendale, or Pete is there. And then sometimes it's just the main cast. And he goes, where's Pete? Where's Pete? And I looked at him and I said, not everybody's invited to the party. You're not always going to be invited to the party. Pete is not always going to be invited to Mickey's party. And that's okay. Like, not everybody's going to love you. And that's okay. I'm saying this to my 2.5-year-old, but I'm also saying it to me, you know, like, not everybody's going to love you. And that's okay. It's actually normal. And I want to teach my son that not everybody's going to love him. Not everybody's going to want him to come to the party. And he's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I wish somebody taught me that growing up, because I always wanted to be invited. I always wanted everybody to like me. And it's like, I'm really trying not to carry that stuff onto my child.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I'm listening to you speaking right now, thinking of like the areas that I already need to work on in my motherhood journey, just because, you know, like now it's like, oh, I have this little tiny best friend at home. And sometimes I think I'm like, she's going to grow up and like, there's going to be days where like she doesn't want me around or she doesn't whatever. And I'm like, how do I survive this? And I think the point that you're making that I love is that they are their own person, that they are not yours. Like one thing that my husband and I always talk about is that like we are just vessels here to raise our daughter. And, you know, we pray for discernment to make the best decisions that we are supposed to right now for her. But, ultimately she isn't ours. She's in our care. She's in our protection right now. And it's our job to like guide her, but she is going to be her own person, and she's not a little me to fix. She's not, you know, like any of that, but she's her own person. And yeah, the best you can do is just to raise them to be the best people that they can, to hopefully contribute to society. And one of the biggest lessons I know that I've learned is to not take things personally, which I feel like I do really well at. But motherhood's like a brand new thing to me. So that'll be the new area that I have to learn to not take anything personally in.
Oh, yeah. And that's going to be really hard the day that she wants her dad and not you.
Yeah.
Because the day that happened to me, I think it was like 10 months or 11 months, the day it happened, it was like a dagger in my heart. You know, I was like, I just went through all this pain to have you and recovery, and I don't even own my body anymore. Like I had every emotion. Like I just wanted to destroy him. And I was like, there's this little baby that I'm like putting my own crap on because he just rejected me. Yeah. And it hurts. It hurts to your soul. But you have to keep reminding yourself, like, this is not about me. This is a little baby. They don't know what they're doing. I obviously have some grieving to do. And they say in the program, and I talk about in the book, when it's historical, it's hysterical. So if that happens to you or anybody listening, try to remember, like, if this is historical, it's hysterical. It's not about my child not loving me. It's that I have some unfinished, you know, rejection or trauma in the past I have not worked through. That really helped me.
Yeah, no, that's good. That definitely makes sense. Man, yeah. I mean, I always talk about kind of on here. I love partnering with BetterHelp because it's just like a great resource to take control of your mental health. And I'm a huge advocate for therapy. I feel like, and that's something that becoming a mom has been important for me because it has brought up things, it has triggered certain things in me, that maybe I didn't know were there, underlying issues, or, you know, your own childhood. Everybody's going to have stuff from their childhood at some point.
We all do.
You know, that I need to work through, because my eating disorder began when I was 13 years old. You know, I remember the first time having body image issues in 3rd grade. I was 8. I remember looking at myself. I was a scrawny kid and feeling like I needed to suck in, or, you know, like having these issues at such a young age. So, I mean, I feel like we're all kind of working through our childhood when we become a parent, but it's like you need to work through it on your own and not through your kid.
Yeah, completely. I always say, and that we're a bunch of toddlers just walking around in this world trying to like be loved or like figure it out. So I try to imagine when that stuff happens that it's stuff I have to deal with, and it's not my child's responsibility to fix it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you so much for coming on and for your time and being so open and sharing your story with us. And where can people find and follow you, and where can they grab your book at?
Yeah, so right now we're exclusively at Amazon, Secret Life of a Hollywood Sex and Love Addict. It's going to be available the next couple of months exclusively, so you can get it there on Kindle or the book. I'm at the Brianne Davis at Instagram, and then the book is at Secret Life Novel. Then we have a podcast called Secret Life, and I talk about all this stuff with Mom, every addiction in the book, eating disorders, men and women eating disorders, you know, the struggles of being a mom, the things you hate being a mom, literally all walks of life, suicide attempt, abortions, everything you can think of. So I do that. And then you can also, you know, go on secretlifenovel.com and have all the links to everything. And then a signed copy if you want a signed copy book and stuff. So I'm so grateful to be on and to share with another mother. That's like the best thing in the world, to talk about being a mother, because it's so hard. And sometimes you could feel like you're alone, you know? So I'm really lucky to share it with you today.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. It was an empowering conversation to have with her and just to be able to talk about addiction. Make sure you check out her book and her platforms and her podcast to learn more. I'm super excited again about the episodes that I have coming up. I have the Formula Mom coming on to talk all about formula. It's such an informative podcast. I learned so much from her. I also have Samantha Bush coming on to talk about her journey with infertility that she went through and is still currently going through. So I just have some really exciting episodes to talk to you guys with. And I am looking forward to sharing everything that I've been learning with you. I have a bunch of other podcasts lined up as well. Again, send me what you want to know, who you want to hear from, and we will try our best to make it happen. All right. I hope you have a great week. Make sure again to share and send us some love. And I hope you have a great week. Love you guys. Bye.
If you want to be the most interesting person at the cocktail party, well, hop on over and listen to the Brain Candy podcast.
Our award-winning content will have you laughing while you're learning.
We read all the best articles, books, and studies and keep up with new TV shows, documentaries, and pop culture. And then we cram it all into 2 shows a week.
Conspiracy theories, cannibal rabbits, unsolved mysteries, the history of the Walkman. There's something for everyone.
The Brain Candy podcast. Find our link in the show notes.
Or simply search for the Brain Candy podcast on your podcast app.